What is going on, guys? It is Wrestlelamia here, back with another video. On this week's edition of Monday Night Raw follows up with Seth making an apology to the Raw roster for his remarks after the Survivor Series, Rusev getting his own back at Starrcade, and AJ Styles is still out for Randy Orton, who cost him the United States Championship. Join us now as Wrestlelamia analyzes the 2nd December edition of Monday Night Raw and looks at the good, the bad and the downright ugly, as well as the latest wrestling news, which includes underwhelming WrestleMania 36 plans, AEW loses again, drawing its lowest rating yet, Brock Lesnar's return date has been revealed, and Youtuber KSI wants to fight in WWE. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos. Now, some of you have told us in the comments down below that you want the recap in videos. Nothing too detailed, but a quick skim of the matches and what happened. We put a poll in the top right corner to get your final opinion on what we should do in the next video. But for now, here's a quick rundown of the results. If you don't want to know, please skip to the time noted in the video. The Architect Seth Rollins opened up Raw with an apology to the WWE Universe and the WWE locker room, but he was quickly met by Kevin Owens. Owens called out Rollins on his bullshit. AOP then joined, issuing a challenge to both. Rollins walks out and walks past AOP, and without a definitive answer, Owens then issues an open challenge and Bobby Lashley, who's with Lana, heads to the ring. Owens defeats Lashley via disqualification as AOP interfere with a beatdown. Lashley is upset he didn't get the job done, but here comes Rusev from the crowd attacking him. After the beatdown, Lashley goes off on his security, not exercising their duty, but in a quick turn of events, he and Lana are the ones who get arrested and are led away in handcuffs. It seems like that leaked info from Redditor Loose Lips backstage was right, as we reported in yesterday's video. Next up, it's Cruiserweight vs Heavyweight as McIntyre defeats Akira Tozawa. McIntyre then calls out the Viper, they exchange words, but the OC interrupts with Styles and Orton having unfinished business. The OC then attack Orton, but to even the odds, Ricochet, Humberto and Rey arrive to fend them off. Backstage, Orton suggests to Rey he didn't need his help. Aleister Black defeats Tony Nese, and backstage, Murphy tells Caruso that he doesn't regret his challenge to Aleister Black, and he takes himself way too seriously. Andrade defeats Eric Young, but after the match, the 35-9 European champion R-Truth is duped by NASCAR drivers Kyle Busch and Michael Waltrip, as Waltrip is wearing a referee shirt and Busch manages to roll up Truth to win the title. Rollins is backstage and mentions Owen didn't ask for his help, but when asked about whether his apology was sincere, Rollins gets defensive. He's damned if he does and damned if he doesn't, and storms right off. Eric Rowan comes out with his mystery cage and defeats No Way Jose. We then get a handicap match as the Kabuki Warriors manage to defeat Charlotte Flair. Also, the Viking Raiders squash local talent. But then it was time for the main event as a 6-man tag between the OC versus Humberto, Mysterio and Ricochet happened. Styles managed to get the win for his team, but as Styles stood tall at the end, Orton hits an RKO out of nowhere on him as Raw closes out. But that was a quick recap of Raw. Let's look at the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. Let's start off with the good as number 1, a solid opening. Raw opened up hot. There was no stoppage in between. Granted, it's nothing new with Seth opening up, but from his apology to Owens coming out, then AOP, Owens issuing an open challenge, Lashley accepting, Rusev interfering, and ultimately Lashley and Lana being the ones led away in handcuffs, it just flowed so smoothly with zero interruption. It's also safe to say that WWE have also turned a dud of a storyline into a red-hot feud. Rusev is extremely over and they're making him look solid in this feud. It was good to see some much needed payback on both Lana and Lashley. Hopefully next week they'll up the ante with either Lashley or Rusev accidentally injuring Lana, and with her out temporarily, the protective order is out. Number 2, Lana's outfit. One word, boobies. Damn, I'm a grown man. I hope my wife isn't watching. It's still going in the good though. Number 3, McIntyre looks like $1,000,000. It's good to see WWE actually using its cruiserweights in a different way, giving them matches against heavyweights rather than a similarly sized opponent. Now, it might have been obvious with who would come out the victor, but the match was great. And even though they're seen as mostly expendable, cruiserweights like Tozawa make wrestlers like McIntyre look like $1,000,000. McIntyre's offense looked devastating in the ring as Tozawa was bumping better than Shawn Michaels and Mr. Perfect. The only problem is, where does McIntyre go from here? As we'll get into later on. Number 4. Keeping Randy neutral. Is he heel or is he babyface? Well, it's not certain, as even though the heelish OC attacked him and he was saved by a bunch of babyfaces, Orton suggested he didn't need them. Perfect. We don't need Randy as a babyface, because quite frankly, he sucks at it. He may have overplayed the heel gimmick, but we like how he's just in a neutral territory. Why can't we just have someone in the middle, someone who is not a heel and someone who's not a babyface? He's not really an anti-hero, but just neutral. Randy is a loner, he should stay like that. Number 5. Bringing back some casual swearing. Isn't it funny that we all lose our minds when wrestlers drop in a casual swear on live television? Now, we're not complaining, cause a reaction, whether good or bad, is still a reaction. We're also glad WWE is still moving away from its PG audience. And lastly, a solid main event. Now, we hate the usual trope of a 6-man tag featuring at least once on every single episode of Raw, but this match was awesome. All 6 men brought some much needed energy towards the end of the show. That is how you do a main event. The crowd were largely asleep at this point after a few meaningless matches, but they were certainly woken up with this one. But that was the good. Let's move on to the bad, as number 1, isn't TLC coming up? Now, we're not sure if many of you have noticed, but TLC is a week from Sunday, and there have been 0 matches confirmed. Whilst we are getting the obvious matches like Rusev vs Bobby Lashley, and they might be building towards Owens vs Rollins, WWE could have at least confirmed a match to get tickets selling. Haven't they learned their lesson from Hell in a Cell or Stomping Grounds? There were more matches booked at this point than TLC. Number 2. Where in the world is Becky Lynch? Where the hell is the Raw Women's Champion? She hasn't been seen since Survivor Series. Are they going to just have her side with Flair next week, leading up to a lukewarm build for TLC? For those who weren't in the audience, she did have a dark match after the show with Kairi Sane, but it's puzzling why she hasn't been on television. Number 3. Wasting Drew McIntyre. Now, 2019 has been a bit of a stale year for McIntyre, as rather than being in the title picture where he belongs, McIntyre was floating around the mid-card. Whilst his injury didn't help in the middle of the year, WWE didn't help either, as all the momentum he built in 2018 came to a crashing halt. This week he called out the Viper after their brief exchange on the previous episode. It might be a good indication that they're still giving him some attention, and some time on the microphone, but WWE needs to boost McIntyre and have one goal in mind for 2020, building him back up into the title picture. Let's face it, his look is phenomenal, his promo skills are exceptional, so why has WWE not elevated him higher? He could have an incredible feud with Randy Orton, which they might have teased, but for the meantime Randy seems to be feuding with AJ Styles. Ultimately, McIntyre continues to have great but meaningless matches. We hope that's not the case next year. Number 4. Does anyone really care what's in the cage? We don't think anyone even gave a hoot about Eric Rowan and his cage this week. Rowan was doing so well on SmackDown as he managed to beat Roman Reigns. They could have continued building him up, but his stock has fallen tremendously. Unless Rowan has CM Punk in that cage, we don't think anyone really cares about this gimmick or this surprise. And number 5, Viking Raiders against local talent? They are the Raw Tag Team Champions, right? Yet they're still being inserted into crappy squash matches with local talent. Shouldn't they be facing established teams? But that was the bad. What about the downright ugly? Well, apart from a few shortcomings, Raw was still a good enough show. It delivered a strong opener and finish with a bit of meh in the middle. Nothing so severe as to having anything remotely ugly on the show. The only concern is TLC is getting the Hell in a Cell treatment, but there are still a number of matches that have the potential to deliver on the show. Let's move on to the latest wrestling news. As our first news story, as we may have an underwhelming Wrestlemania match. Now, 2019 is almost coming to an end, and with the Royal Rumble scheduled for January, it won't be long until we're officially on the road to WrestleMania 36. So in preparation for the biggest pay-per-view of the year, WWE surely has an idea of what feuds and matches should take place. According to Alex McCarthy at Talksport.com, he reports that WWE is currently looking at 2 options for Brock Lesnar's opponent. One option being Cain Velasquez. It's not certain if Lesnar will be the WWE champion going in. Knowing WWE, it's probably likely, but it could mean that they plan to put the championship on Velasquez at Mania, a rumor that has been thrown around ever since Velasquez debuted. The second option would be Tyson Fury. Fury has recently teased a match by stating he could beat Lesnar within 30 seconds. McCarthy reported that Fury could be a better attraction if he manages to beat Deontay Wilder and becomes heavyweight champion. McCarthy mentioned, "As far as Lesnar goes, WWE are looking at two options. One would see him face Cain Velasquez in what the company would bill as a rubber match, as Velasquez dethroned Lesnar for the UFC heavyweight title and MMA, and Lesnar defeated Velasquez on his WWE debut at Crown Jewel in October. However, if Tyson Fury beats Deontay Wilder to become the WBC heavyweight champion of the world, the allure of having a boxing world champion face Lesnar is expected to be too much for Vince McMahon. Personally, a match between Velasquez would be better since he actually has wrestling ability, as a fight with Fury will no doubt be sloppy. But in all honesty, both matches sound terrible. There's so many options that WWE can go with, yet they're putting these two amateurs in the ring, which will no doubt be a main event match. But if you had to choose, which match in your opinion would be better? Next up, bad news for AEW. Well, it seems that WWE has pulled it off for the meantime, as even though we are post NXT Invasion angle, NXT's viewership has held up and has beaten AEW for the second week in a row, and sadly, AEW achieved its lowest viewership to date. According to Showbuzz Daily, Wednesday's AEW Dynamite on TNT drew 663,000 viewers, while NXT drew 810,000 viewers on the USA Network, so NXT topped Dynamite by 22%. It's crazy to see that only just a few weeks ago, these scores were reversed. Brock Lesnar's return date revealed. So Brock's match at the Survivor Series seemed to be his last of 2019. He's sitting out TLC, but according to Alex McCarthy, the Beast Incarnate will be back at the Royal Rumble. And our final news story of today, YouTuber KSI wants to fight in WWE. The popular YouTube star is coming off on a high as he's remained undefeated in the world of boxing. KSI has stated himself that he doesn't want a rematch with Logan Paul and he wants to get back into the ring. However, it might be a different ring. In an interview with All Hip Hop, KSI was asked whether he'd like to jump into a WWE ring. He told, "Of course, I'm always open to doing WWE, AEW or whatever organization there is. I've been a fan for years. I used to watch Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, Hulk Hogan, Sting, Mick Foley, Mankind, The Undertaker, all these guys, Triple H. I'm a fan, so it would be a dream come true to fight in the WWE." KSI has also admitted to being a big fan of the Botchamania series, as he revealed in a tweet. Would you like to see KSI in a WWE ring? Are you a fan of him? Let us know in the comments down below, subscribe if you haven't already, follow us on Instagram and Twitter, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.